We're going to go ahead and get started. You all take your seats.
Green light's on.
Welcome. A couple of introductory comments. This is our third interview process for to the next president of St. Petersburg College. For those of you who have been to the other interviews, this is kind of a repeat performance from me, but this is the most important decision that this board will make, probably collectively together. College leadership is imperative to the success of any school, and Dr. Law surprised us not too long ago with his impending retirement and forced us all into service to do these interviews. It's been a pleasure getting to know these candidates. This is our third one. All of these interview sessions are audio taped and videotaped. We're holding all of these back until the final candidate interview, so the later candidates don't have any advantage over the earlier candidates. What I have found, though, is very few of us repeat questions. This board has done their homework before coming in here on each candidate, so we feel like we know them pretty well on paper. This is our opportunity to spend an hour and a half with each candidate to see how they react under the pressure of questions from the Board of Trustees. I know that Dr. Williams will do a wonderful job today, and I'd like to introduce her today. Dr. Tonjua Williams is here today. Thank you for joining us. Dr. Williams is a distinguished educator and, as many of you know, the current Senior Vice President of Student Services. She is a St. Petersburg native and a graduate of Clearwater Christian College with a bachelor's degree in Business Administration and Humanities. Her master's degree in education with an emphasis on counseling is from the University of South Florida. She has a doctorate in higher education administration from Barry University. She has served St. Petersburg College in various roles for 30 years. Prior to her promotion to her current position, she was Vice President for Academic and Student Affairs. She has also served as a Provost on the Tarpon Springs campus and Associate Provost at the Health Education Center. A graduate of Leadership Tampa Bay and Leadership St. Pete, she is a participating member of the prestigious Aspen Presidential Fellows for Community College Excellence. She serves her community through membership and leadership roles on numerous charitable boards and has been honored for her leadership skills and civic contributions by the St. Petersburg Chamber of Commerce and the Tampa Bay Network of Executive Women. Now, before we start peppering you with questions, I'd like for you to take a few minutes to tell us about yourself and what brought you to this chapter in your life where you are applying for the presidency of St. Petersburg College.
Well, I've been a native resident of Pinellas County. Been here soon to be 54 years. And yes, I'm very proud to make it to that age. And I grew up here, attended Bogaciga High School, and then went off to college. Born to a single parent who decided she wanted more for her children. And I've been real helpful. And I'm real proud of that. It's a huge motivator for me because the shoulders that I stand on are broad shoulders, not just my mom, but those who were in the village that helped raise me and kept me moving. The village didn't stop where I grew up. It also happened at St. Petersburg College. People like Willie Felton and others stood up and helped me get acclimated to the institution, made sure that I got my bearings straight, and helped me see all that I could be at the college. And so I'm a product of the work that we do here at St. Petersburg College. I could not do what I'm doing had it not been for my husband, Derek. There he is. We dated 5 years and we've been married 27 years. different roles and have had an opportunity to see the college through various lenses, from career service staff to adjunct faculty to provost, as well as VP, as well as a community member, and what the college has done in the community to do the things that we're doing to make us successful. Being a part of the community is very important to me. I'm just not a member, but I participate actively, and that is what St. Pete College does. We participate actively. We're not just a community on the corner of all of the communities. We are a college of the community, and that attracted me to wanting to be the president of St. Petersburg College. The things that we have done, the focus on student success, is very near and dear to me, because if it were not for students, we would not be here. If it were not success, we would not make it. And so that is exactly what we're here for. The work that I have done as the provost of the Tarpon campus, we were academicians at the time that I was the provost. And so I've had a lot of experience working with faculty, working with the college schedule, working with making sure students are learning, the curriculum, the course management system. I've done those things. And so you would not inherit an individual who does not have a broad perspective of the community college, not just any, but St. Petersburg College. I feel that I'm uniquely poised for this position and ready to work with the team and take the college to the next level.
Great. Thank you. Thank you for... Now, I'm sure that Dr. Williams is going to have some great answers. If you would hold your applause. That will be helpful to get us through. The first meeting we had, we each got to ask 3 questions. The last one, we got to ask 4. Who knows how many we'll get through today? But we do like to try to end about 5:30, in fairness to the other candidates. So they were scheduled for an hour. I extended that. So we're going to get started with Trustee Cole, but when Trustee Bello gets here, just know that she will have an opportunity to not only see your introduction, but all of the questions that she missed by video. So she will be up to speed. Trustee Cole.
Thank you, and thank you, Dr. Williams. I obviously joined the board after the initial selection was chosen, and so I got caught up by watching the videos and reading the materials. And I just want to say I was thrilled to see you were graduating with Pillar Christian College. And I've worked with them over the past 10 years and know many of the administrators and the faculty there, and no more, but they trained and educated fabulous educators and school administrators. So make that connection for you. But in your time
Is her mic on?
now, obviously looking to move forward in your career, talk to us about what you would envision your first 60 days on the job if you were selected as the president.
Perfect. You know, being an internal candidate, sometimes it's easy to think you know all the components of the college and every single thing. I think it's very critical for me to have a transition team made up of frontline staff, security, facility, faculty, and staff to really look under all the rocks, look at the holes and the gaps to see where we need to go forward. I could come in and say, oh, let's do this, do that, but we need the voices of the people who work so hard in this institution to make it what it is. So I would first have a transition team. Second, if the state allows, and the budget is done, and we know where we are, we would start working on a very good business plan and strategy for the budget and how we can survive the anticipated downfall and where we're going. We're not going to have a whole lot of time with that, and so we would have to address that right away. And there's 2 ways that we can address that. One is going to be improving our retention and enrollment plan, making sure that we're doing well, bringing the students on board, keeping them, transitioning them out into a high-wage paying job or into another college if they're transferring. I think that that's going to be critical, and that's something that the team is going to have to look at the very beginning of that first 60 to 90 days. So I rely on the transition team, hearing the voices and the concerns, building a strong plan, and addressing our budget shortfalls.
Thank you.
Dr. Williams, thank you for being here. You had a lot to do with implementing the Student Success Plan as we now see it. And if you can walk us through what that implementation process looked like, and in your opinion, what you think we can do going forward to improve this great program that we've built and we already have, ways that we can make it even more efficient, even more better.
Okay. You know, back in 2011-12, we found ourselves losing students in the application process. And we found that the process was very discombobulated or convoluted, and students were quitting before they could complete the application. And we knew that because we applied ourselves to the college to see what that experience was like. And so our current president said, okay, we're going to have to do a much better job in how we onboard our students and what we do when we treat them coming into the institution. And so the campus provosts were tagged with that role, and we were tagged to work as a team. And I had the opportunity of being the leader of that team. And so together we sat down and looked at all of the processes that students experience, the system itself, and we started working on how to break down the barriers that were causing students problems. And as we kept peeling back the onion, we found more and more layers of problems. And so we realized we needed to collaborate with our frontline staff. We needed to bring everyone to the table, hear the voices, understand the concerns, and build a better process for our students to go through. Now, this was very, very hard work because we had to change just about everything we were doing. And we had to do things differently than what's normally done in the community college system. The first time that we looked at our responses from the end of the first term, the success rates went down. And we were disappointed because we had put a lot of work in that system. We improved the onboarding process. We started working on the application, the communication plan, retraining the advisors, changing the advising model, all those things, and the success rates tanked. And personally, I felt I failed my team because we had worked so hard. But the board was so supportive and said, let's do it again. And so we went another term, and the success rates started rising because the students were onboarded strategically, were worked very carefully on their careers, plans so that they knew why they were here, and we got them through that funnel. Now, that is fully embedded in the college, and so it's time for phase 2. Now that we're doing much better in the onboarding process, we have to make sure we retain the students we have. And so focusing on the classroom experience is going to be our next step. And to address the classroom experience, we have to address the faculty experience. And so those are the steps that I would see us moving in to making sure that our faculty are engaged, that they have an opportunity to own teaching and learning, and making sure our students are successful, and that they can bring their A game to the table with what they feel we should be doing to help students in the class and to keep them going term to term and get them across the stage.
Thank you.
Thank you. Give Trustee Bello an opportunity. And you're after me,
Okay.
but I know you're ready. Dr. Williams, today we learned that we might have a budget shortfall between $6 and $10 million as far as the deficit in the budget. You mentioned retention as one element, you touched on it, but basic budgeting, it's revenue versus expenses. First, how do you propose that we balance the budget, and what revenue sources you think we have some potential in obtaining, and what are some of the tough cuts that you're willing to propose to the Board of Trustees?
So I'm aware of where we are with our budget and looking at our expenses over revenue. And so we would need to have some sort of rubric that we're going to use to say, how is this going to impact students if we do not have this anymore? If we remove this from the budget, how is it going to impact students and help students move forward? What can we give back that's not going to have a negative impact on student success? I think that's the first thing that we need to do to take a look at that $6.1 million anticipated decline. Second, we need to figure out a way to solve of their role. We're going to have to come up with a standalone Office of Recruitment with a recruitment plan and a strong strategy. But for the current budget shortfalls that we anticipate, we have such a large footprint in our community. We have a lot of buildings and facilities that are going unused that we continue to pay for each year. I think we need to be more strategic in how we use those facilities. Either we can actually rent them out or we can sell them if we're not using them. I think our current facilities where we have a lot of activity and action going on, we need to find ways to better use that to support the community in their events and conventions and initiatives that they are trying to do to bring more revenue into the college. There are some serious cuts that we're going to have to make. And a lot of folks talk about, well, are you going to drop athletics? Are you going to drop this? Are you going to drop that? I think we need to take a strong look at what are we willing to give up that's not going to compromise quality of instruction and that is not going to compromise student success. And so having an opportunity to look at all of that is going to be the charge of the new president. And I think it's going to be the first charge of the new president. Building partnerships to help us do the work that we need to do is also another way to help us with the budget shortfall. We may not bring in revenue, but we may bring in products and software and initiatives that we need by building those partnerships. We have got to expand our effectiveness in the community with business and industry and share with them what we need and how they can help us and what they will get in return. We have definitely lost our footprint in the business industry, and I think there's some capturing that we can do there to address the budget shortfall. Finally, I think we need to come up with a better budget plan, a better business proposition, and how we spend money and what we spend it on. And so we're going to be starting from scratch, and I think any new president coming in that situation will be looking at better ways to address the budget.
Great, thank you. You did very well, thank you. Trustee Bello.
Hi. Sorry for being a few minutes behind. I come from Tampa, for those of you who don't know, so that bridge is always a challenge. I also apologize because I don't know how many questions in we are. If this has been asked, you can just say asked and answered, and I'll go to the next one. But you talked a lot in your narrative about your faculty collaboration and that's a strong suit of yours. One of the presentations that we got this morning was more full-time faculty. And it's different when you go from being a peer to being a boss. And I think it's unrealistic for us, based on the budget presentation that we've seen, to think that increasing full-time faculty is a good idea. I think that would be irresponsible. So going from being the faculty collaborator to having to be the one to make those tough decisions, I'd like you to talk about how you would do that.
That's a good question. So in my current role, I've had an opportunity to have listening posts at every single campus with faculty to hear their voice about my role and what I can do to help them in theirs before this opportunity came forward. I've been working for the last 4 or 5 years to work closer with faculty, because the way I see it, we have to close the academic and student affairs gap, and we're going to have to work closer together. And so this is my book. It's all beat up, but this is the book I've used for the last 8 months, going campus to campus to hear the voices of faculty. And I feel that I have a good understanding of what the needs of the faculty are. And just like I had to change how I work with provosts, having just come from that rank and leading that team, I will be able to do the same with faculty. Faculty are asking, will we be included? Will we be heard? And I understand that and believe that I have the fortitude to step my game up and not be the glorified vice president, but be the college president. And to make those tough decisions and look at what our needs are and where we need to go. I have a very good toolkit on the issues that faculty are facing and the concerns that they have. And I do believe that by collaborating more, listening, and looking at how we're structured to deliver instruction, and that model is going to help us raise the bar and increase how we work with faculty and how I engage and make that jump from VP to president.
Dr. Williams, thank you so much for participating in this process. We really appreciate you not only taking your time and your husband's and your family's time and being a part of this process. Also, congratulations on graduating from the Aspen Institute. That is huge.
Thank you.
for this college gives us national recognition. You and your family should be proud. You have served in so many capacities, it's almost impossible for me to ask you a question. But without asking these types of questions, I just don't believe that we can get a good feed on whether or not you would be the next president of St. Petersburg College. You know, data and analytics play a really, really, really big portion, play a big role in how a president leads a ship. Please tell me about a particular program that you headed up and the analytics and how that helped you get to the objectives and the end result, and moved through the college, through this college or any other college you've been a part of, how you got to the end result, and what was the turning point for you based upon the analytics and the data.
Okay, thank you, Trustee Gibbons. So with the college experience, we live, breathe, and drink data. And so what we wanted to see was, are the items and things that we're doing, is it effective? Is it working? Are we getting the results we need? Because a lot of energy and effort has gone into the college experience. The college experience is a 5-pronged mission that helps students onboard the college, engage the college, choose a career program, and have a roadmap to use. It also includes early alerts and helping us see students before they fail, as well as getting students into the tutoring lab. But we wanted to know, are these efforts working? And so we went through a process of using data where weekly we come together from 8:30 to 9 o'clock to look at the movement of students, the work that the deans are doing, and others, to see, are these pieces working? And there are some things that were working and there's some things that were not. And we've had to abandon a couple of things. One would be our current early alert system. We had to go to a different one because the one that we had was not effective for students, and we put a lot of energy in that. But I think I want to share something else we've done with data. With the Pathways initiative that we have, on Thursdays, we have, every other Thursday, we have a data set where we look at the work that we're doing in student movement along the academic pathway planning from the advisor standpoint and how they work with the faculty in what we call career and academic communities. This is a separate set of data that we use to see, do we have a plan? Has everyone been trained on the plan? Who has been involved, and where are we with the plan? In both initiatives, we've seen success. And in a previous question that I answered, I believe I shared with the college experience, at first we did not see success. The second time we did. And what we learned is that when we do these kinds of things, our students of color benefit at a higher rate than our students who are not students of color. So we found that we were closing significantly the success gap between minorities and our white students. Now that we have developmental ed reform, where developmental ed is no longer required, we have lost grounds on that because our students of color are opting out more not to take developmental ed when they're needed, and so do our other students. So they're jumping into college level courses not doing well. So we're going back to the drawing board. The faculty have worked very hard to try to find ways to support students who are starting well behind the start line. They don't have to do developmental education. And so many of them are struggling because they may have a lower level of English reading, writing, and math, but they're jumping into courses that require them to be college ready. And so we will constantly use data to find ways to support students, ways to do our jobs better. But I have to say, I value data, but I believe the purpose of data is to inform us where we are and what we need to do better. And so folks should not be threatened by it or feel uncomfortable when we present data. I'm a data person, I believe in it, but I believe that the purpose of it is to inform us so that we can move forward and make improvements. And so people feel comfortable if they miss the mark a little bit or what we need to do better to serve a certain population.
Thank you.
Okay.
We're going to have to start over. Start at the beginning. Would you please introduce yourself?
No.
Dr. Williams, in your video, you mentioned we're the plan, not the fallback.
That's right.
Which is great. I love it. How would you use that to help with recruitment, move recruitment forward, to really both engage with the individual students or potential students that are out there, but also to engage with the community as a whole? What ideas do you have to bring that full circle into fruition to actually boost enrollment here?
Good. So we're the plan, not the fallback, is something that we could definitely use in branding, you know, the college. Because so many times we're looked upon as a 13th grade, and we're not the 13th grade. We are the plan. And so we need students to want to come to St. Pete College without waiting until they go on to their four-year school, fail, and then they come to us needing more help and assistance. So to use that slogan, we're the plan, not the fallback, we're going to have to really rekindle our relationship with K through 12. We're going to have to work very diligently with the private schools and our public schools. We're going to have to build an educational ecosystem from VPK all the way up to St. Petersburg College and beyond. I think there's a group that we're missing in working with our HBCU organizations that may not be accepting all students from Bethune-Cookman, Florida A&M, Florida Memorial, et cetera. Hey, we're the plan. Let's do it. We'll build articulation agreements so that those students can come here, get their AA degree, and transfer. I think the other piece about being the plan is working and merging our workforce programs, our non-credit programs, with our credit programs. And so let's say I pop into SPC to take a Windows course, Word or something, and then I finish. So guess what? You should get some kind of marketing and reach out saying, hey, you've taken one course that actually falls under one of our AA or AS programs. Why don't you come on and get your degree? Once I get my degree, a year out, you've been out with that AA for a year. Students who have this AA also take these non-credit courses. We do not have a full circle where we're really working a system so that we can make that work. The plan, not the fallback, that is a part of that. The other part of the plan, not the fallback, is engaging our workforce partners, making sure that we know who's at the table, what we can bring to the table. I'd like to see us be the convener of all of our political leaders, workforce, our communities, our mayors, everyone, and sit down and talk with the county commission about Pinellas County. What are our goals? What do we plan to do? What businesses are moving into town? How can St. Petersburg College be the plan? How can we be the school that they call first and say, hey, Tonjua, this company's moving in, we need a new certificate by this time. I'll say, gotcha, let's do it. And so we need to be the plan, not the fallback. And that's how we become that, by being intricately involved, partnering with economic development, career source, and those folks to make that work.
And this will segue in nicely to a question that I had prepared. It was great video. Your letter to the search committee, I read in great earnest and agreed with everything you said. In your letter, you wrote that you want to brand SPC as a student-ready college, and you kind of
Correct.
touched on that, and I love the branding. My question, though, aren't we already student-ready, and if we're not, why not?
Okay, thank you for that. I believe that we have a little bit of work to go to be student-ready. In the past, we have been, as an institution, looking for the student that's college-ready. We're always using, are you college-ready? Do you know how to read? Do you know how to write? Do you know how to do this? Well, we know they're not. And so we have to be student-ready, which means our students are coming from all walks of life, all different experiences, all different capabilities or the lack thereof. And so there's a big difference between a student-ready college and having college-ready students. And I think that there's a little bit more work that we can do to be that student-ready college where we're focusing solely on our students and what their needs are and what they bring to the table. One of the things we've talked to the faculty about was being able to have a scorecard on their class roster that explains to them who's in my class. Because the faculty, they're the only group that may have 30 to 40 different learners in a room at one time. Now that they don't have to be college ready to be in a gateway course, they're coming without the skills that they need, and the faculty are scurrying around trying to make sure they're teaching to all these different groups, students with abilities or the lack thereof, students who have different experiences with educators, and the faculty are putting forth a plan to try to make sure they learn. Colleges that are student-ready are not trying to fix the student. They're trying to fix the system and the processes and make sure that we realize we're going to get students from all walks of life who are totally different. There's not a cookie-cutter student. They're all different. And we're going to have to be ready to embrace them and be prepared for them and provide the services, resources, and training that they need to be successful, to not only get them a good grade, but to complete and get a good job. I do believe strongly that if a student has an SPC certificate on their wall, an SPC degree on their wall, they should be making a living, sustainable wage. And I believe that's what we're here for. So if we're going to be a student-ready college, we're not going to be able to fix the students. They come as they come. We're going to have to be ready for them to prepare what they need and to help them be successful.
Oh, I don't understand the order. I'm so confused. Oh, I'll figure it out by the last interview. Got it. A few minutes ago, you referenced that we've lost our footprint in the business community. And I'm curious, obviously, about that, and not only what you meant by that, but also how you feel like you can make a difference in that area.
So what I meant by we've lost our footprint is, having been here 30 years, I've been involved when we went out to businesses, we did registrations there, we worked with the leaders if they were doing sort of like reimbursement for enrollment. We were able to offer courses there. New businesses that move in, we need to be nimble and quick and engaged and involved and be the person that they consider for quick training, for long degree planning and things of that nature. I think there are some unique opportunities that we have now that we have not yet tapped into. And looking at our workforce as a county and looking at what we're doing as Pinellas County, since the college serves the entire county, north, south, east, and west, I think that we've lost our way on some opportunities where we could be engaging those businesses and industries and providing them with what they need and training their workforce. I also think with that partnership with the workforce, we can make sure our students are aware that that exists so that they can get jobs there, internships there, and other opportunities for us to go ahead and scale out in the community. I think that there's much more that we can do that we have not tapped into. And I think that as the next president, if I am blessed to have that role, my job will be to be out there along with the team to make ways for that to happen, to convene the workforce community, to see what's the county commissioner working, what are they working on? What's our next move in Pinellas County? Colleges are put in the county to lift and elevate the county and help everyone gain livable wages and to have a good life. And if we work with the folks who don't have that, then we'll be able to lift our entire county and help more individuals be prosperous, move forward, and have a good life. And so I think there's some opportunities for us to even do better in that area. We've talked about a workforce ecosystem. Some of the team, they're already working on it, where we look at all the workforce options in Pinellas County and say, what can St. Petersburg College bring to the table there? What is our footprint? Where do we belong here? What can we provide? And I think that new president will be an intricate part of that development.
Dr. Williams, well, I have a two-part question. Number one is, a very successful mayor one time told me that the reason he was very successful in his hometown and being mayor was because he learned how to say no 80% of the time. Because every friend, relative, and everybody else that you know locally will come in and they'll ask for this and ask for that.
Right.
What are the impediments and how will you deal with being able to say no to so many people that you know across this community from from Tarpon Springs to the Bay,
Right.
to the bridge? How will you deal with that, number one? And number two, the second part of the question is, you talked about the county being a big place. Tell me about how you would look at schedules, programming, faculty, and staff countywide for our campuses, and how you talked about the programming needs, but how do you respond to those? For example, I think most of our business classes now are online. So we have a big campus in downtown. We also have it's not a culinary arts program, but it's hospitality program, and it's in Seminole. So how would you look and reconfigure all these programs as you go forward as president if you're selected?
Okay, can you just repeat the first question?
The first part is, how are you going to say no to so many people that know
Okay,
you?
thank you. So, well, we have been blessed over the last 3 decades to be able to say yes more than we've had to say no. And I think the next president is going to have to get the communities to collaborate and work together. So we may not be able to do, we're going to sponsor this and this and this, and say, hey, we have a county. Each of you are doing the exact same thing. Let's see how we can come together and partner and make this work for all 3 cities, not just one city. Because we are going to have to say, no, we can't do that, but here's what we can do. We can partner in this way, but we can't do this. And so we would have to be strategic in what we're doing and making sure that we are helping our students along the way or the residents in that particular city. But I think that looking at the county as a whole, a lot of us are doing a lot of the same stuff. And so I think a way to say yes is to say, okay, if we're going to have SAT training, then we're going to do a county training. We may not be able to do it here, 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 and here, but we're going to do it here, and all can come and participate. So we have to do that. And then the second thing is sometimes we're going to have to say, I cannot do that, or we are not in the position to do that, or this is what we cannot do at this point. And so we will have to say no. And we're starting to say we used to be able, we could, we're going to look at it this way. I think the college would really benefit by pulling together all of the things that we're doing as a college to support all of the different communities and seeing how we could sort of right-size that and get that in a little tidier way of doing it. And so I think that would be an option to saying no without saying no to everything. And then your second question, you talked about several things. A lot of it boiled down to how are we going to handle the structure of classes, whether they're online, face-to-face, whether students are having to go campus to campus, and how are we going to look at the model by which we currently work. So we have a dean and a provost model where the deans and provosts try to work collaboratively. And I've been asked several times, would you change the model? That's been the basic question. And for this reason, I have a transition team so that we can look at the model, look at how the model is impacting student success. How are we doing before the model? How are we doing now? And maybe there's a hybrid model, and maybe there's a total change. But it would only be prudent for the new president to go in and look at it, weigh the pros and cons, work with the faculty, staff, and the senior VPs, and see what will be the best model for us going forward. Because if we don't fix inside the house, it's hard to get outside. And so we are going to have to look at some of those things to see which way we would go forward. And I hesitate in saying, I'd drop this, I'd add this. That goes totally against my value system and what I'd like to see done. Therefore, we have the transition team so that we can look at all of the areas and issues that need to be fixed and worked on so that we can be proactive and not make a million changes just by rifle shot, just doing things and say, here's the plan. Here's how we're going to phase it in. Here's what we're going to do. And that starts with the transition team.
I'm going to steal, I think it was Chairman Foster's question a couple of years ago. Or something you said maybe
No.
Now that you're in a formal interview process, as opposed to your listening tour that you talked about, what do you think is the biggest surprise that you heard from the past 2 days? And
Okay.
who did that
Come
come from?
Okay,
And why is it a surprise?
okay. Well, it wasn't a surprise because I've had the listening post and I had heard already, but the schedule, every group has questioned, what are you going to do with the schedule? Are you going to go with campus-based schedules, or are you going to stay with the district-wide scheduling? And that came from students, faculty, and staff. I think that's one. I do have to say that one that might have been a slight surprise might have been, how can we get raises? And a part of the surprise is I'm not sure we've done a good job sharing with the college family how enrollment impacts, what we do and where we are. But the teams have worked so hard, and they're trying to find out how do we get some sort of funding for that. But a lot of it had to do with scheduling, and what are we going to do with the provost dean model. But I was not surprised. Those were things that I had heard in the listening post.
And besides the raises, was there any other surprise?
A lot of questions of what would I keep and what would I do away with, which I did not answer. I basically stated that, if you're going to go in and take a good look, you can't have preconceived notions and say what you're going to do. And so we'll look at where we are and make that decision. And I'm not doing that because I can't make a decision. It's that I want to be inclusive, which is something that the team has felt they've not really had an opportunity to have.
Good. A few years ago, you presented on a topic titled 10 Ways to Break Team Spirit. How are ways that colleges break team spirit,
Okay.
and what's the solution?
A lot of times breaking team, I'm almost ready to present, right? A lot of times breaking team spirits, it happens when people exclude groups. People make decisions for groups without allowing them to give buy-in. People being exclusive and more micromanaging and not allowing the team to have innovation and the ability to be creative. Breaking team spirit is working people very hard and not finding ways to celebrate what they do well and bring forward, here's some good news, here's what you've done very well, we're very proud. It is always constantly backbiting, mistreating, going against leadership, not valuing the team, all of those kinds of things. And that is what I was presenting on. I had a chance to present that with the statewide SGA group. As you know, with the student government group here at St. Pete College, they have an opportunity to lead and spend 25% of the student activity budget. And a lot of that is power. And we had students who were struggling with, it's my money, I want to do this. And, so we had to talk about how to build teams and how to work collaboratively. So a good leader will be open, collaborative, clear. A good leader will seek opposing views, will weigh the pros and cons, and be brave to hear those things that they may not agree with, but they need to hear it, and they need to be willing to work through it. You can break your team spirit when you refuse to do that, and when you feel that you have all the answers and they don't. And so that is a particular topic that I enjoy presenting.
All right, you are in a very unique and exciting position, and one I want to know how you're going to handle. And that is your top 5 finalists for 2 colleges, and we're going to make our decision after.
I know.
What are you going to say if
It
Polk State
saddened me
offers
that
you?
the timeline has been changed. And so I did not anticipate that curveball. And so I will have to take it one step at a time, one day at a time. I was asked, which school do you love the best? I said, this is my family. And the timeline has been moved behind. Polk is really moving fast and will make their decision before we do. And so I'll have to weigh that when I get that opportunity, if I get that opportunity. I'll have to weigh that at that time. But thought I had it together.
Now, with your background at Clearwater Christian College, they won't be surprised if you told them you needed some time to pray about it.
I know that's right.
Only you, man.
Great answer.
Only you.
Great answer.
Dr. Williams, it's no surprise that you grew up in this community and you know it very well. But one of the things that Kim Burke and I would sit and do, as you very well know, because you were sitting next to us a lot of times on the stage at graduation, is we would count how many minorities graduated on a regular basis.
Right.
While we have increased those numbers tremendously, and we've done a very good job, we're getting kids in, not kids, we are getting students in, because our average age of students is around 30 years old.
Right.
And we're keeping them in, we're retaining them, we're actually getting them out and pushing them through. One of the issues, though, still is that in minority recruitment and minority programming, we have to work extra hard to get those students through. With the current legislation that went through 2 years ago that hurt us when young people or students come into the college, they no longer can go through the developmental education program. So, knowing that, what are some of the things that you would do to help with minority recruitment and minority retention?
Thank you. We have to have a stronger plan for recruitment, period. One of the roles that I've had the pleasure of playing is the minority recruiter and the health programs recruiter. That was my focus, was to get more minority students at the college. And because our bread and butter is not really just the straight out of high school student, it's the 22-year-old to 26. So we have to do some non-traditional things than what we're doing. I know that we have really ramped up social media. We've done a great job there. I think that we are probably the best in the state in that. But many of the minority students in this age population, they want someone who gives them the personal touch. And right now, our current recruitment model includes the deans, advisors, provosts, associate provosts, taking part of their day trying to go out and recruit. And so we need someone who wakes up every morning and their job is to recruit. And our lunch is being eaten off of our current plan because they're just into all the other pieces of onboarding students and teaching and keeping students here. And so we're going to have a designated team that is responsible for recruiting, and one needs to be responsible for minority recruitment to go to the barbershops and the places where individuals hang out and where they are. I spent a lot of my minority recruitment time on the Little League football field. And I know that sounds crazy, right? But our parents may not come to the schools, but they'll spend all day at that Little League football field. From the time we open the gate until 11 o'clock when we close. And so those were some opportunities for us to talk to parents as they sat on the bleachers about coming to St. Pete College, where they didn't even know they were qualified. And so we're going to have to get our footprint back out into all of our communities, not just African American and minority, but all of our communities, to make sure students understand, we're here, we're open, you can come. We can help you do that. We can help you move forward. So I think a part of the recruitment piece is having a dedicated team. Second, we've done a good job in onboarding the students, getting them into a career, moving them along, is keeping them engaged in the institution, making sure that they don't fall in the cracks. So our retention plan has to be amped up. There are certain populations that respond to certain types of nudges and certain types of movement. And we have to make sure we're giving the right nudges and movement to the right individuals. So if we're working with someone who may be like me, a Generation Xer, right? Sending me all the technology might not be a good way of reaching me. Picking up the phone. You know, I tell my godson, why are you texting me? Why aren't you calling me? That's how you engage me. But we can't be a one size fits all. And you know, in marketing, everybody's not going to use the same modality for marketing. And so we're going to have to be intentional. We're going to have to be strategic in how we engage our students to keep coming back. We re-recruit students each term. We re-recruit them to the subsequent term. Did you guys know that? Because we have students who walk away and don't come back who are in good standing. And so we're missing the mark there. There's some work that we're going to have to do to re-recruit students from the fall to the spring, and to make sure that we're sending out the right nudges at the right time with the right communication using the right medium. Everybody's not going to use texting. Some do, some don't. Everybody's definitely not using emails. We've killed the email idea. That's not working. And so we're going to have to find better ways. And so one of the things that we have done that seems to have caught on is we have workplace Facebook for our career and academic communities, where faculty, students, advisors, deans can communicate. And we haven't really done a good marketing job with it, but students are finding it, and they're using it, and they love it, because it's based upon their career area. And they get to know who's coming on campus, what's going on, what's the latest and greatest, what jobs are available, all on Facebook, workplace Facebook. I might not, is it workplace Facebook? And they love it. And so we've got to find different ways to engage our students and keep them interested in what they're doing. Another part of retention is going to be making sure we have the right programs to offer students that are going to lead to the good jobs. We're in the process of tilling the soil and making sure that we retrofit our current programs, remove the ones that are not very viable anymore, and bring on new ones. And we're going to have to be real nimble and able to move that quickly. So that would be my answer. It's long and comprehensive, but I needed to capture all the components.
You spoke in your written materials about one college.
Mm-hmm.
In your introduction, you spoke as well about North and South County, and Trustee Gibbons referenced your connections from Tarpon to St. Pete, but obviously you're born and raised in St. Pete.
Correct.
Your livelihood and life, it has been here. I keep forgetting, sorry. Talk to me about how you would re-engage in all of Pinellas County and in North County and ensure that St. Petersburg College serves all of Pinellas County.
In the leadership of the campus provost, they have done a lot of the legwork in infiltrating all the counties and getting as involved as possible. But I think by being the convener of a county discussion on who we are, what the mayors are all focusing on, what the commissioners are focusing on, and where we are with each community, we need to find out what's happening as a county, and SPC will then say, here's our role in all of these county pursuits and needs. But we need to make sure we don't leave out faith-based organizations, community-based organizations that we're currently working with. We have a minister's dinner every year to hear from faith-based organizations and what can we do better, how can we further serve them, and what our role will be. We work with St. Pete Free Clinic, Academy Prep, all these different groups to do civic engagement and to get involved in how we serve and support. We have the MLK Day of Service, which is a major community service, but it's only in St. Petersburg. It's time to expand that out to the other counties. So how I would do that is be present, be intricately involved, work with our teams to make sure that we're doing the best thing for the community. And we've started building a educational ecosystem in Tarpon. It actually started in Seminole, and they've done a very good job. We're doing it now in Tarpon, we're doing it in Midtown, and so we're starting to get a better footprint in the educational ecosystem. We need to do a community ecosystem and find out what all the members of the community needs are and how we can infiltrate that. The new president's going to have to be present, energetic, and involved.
Dr. Williams, you've served this college for a long time, 30 years. What do you think the advantages are to having that amount of time invested in this college? And what do you think the disadvantages are
Good
of
question.
coming with that as well?
Okay. The advantages of having a long-standing employee who's worked in several jobs is that that person understands the history of the college itself, how we got to certain decisions that people are like, why are we doing that? I can tell you, I was here. This is what we've done and why. Also, you have a good feel of how the organization worked. You know the campuses intricately. You know the communities you have a chance to work with. I'm not the only person who's been here 30 years. Okay, there's several of us here. And so I think the advantage is stability, being able to understand the communities, being able to advocate for the college, and work with our legislators and individuals. We know when buildings were built, what they mean, how this works, understanding what the college used to look like, what it looks like now, what worked then, what didn't work. Those are advantages. The disadvantage is being stale in ideas and not having new ideas and new ways of moving the college forward. Therefore, the transition team, bringing on more inclusion of the college family so we can till the soil and making sure that we're progressive and moving forward. I think that is the most major, largest disadvantage of having a long-standing employee is the lack of possible vision and not being able to do the job. And so I'm already preparing to ramp that up and make sure that we include everyone from the community as well as the college family so we can keep things moving and not be stale. I don't want to be that president that constantly say, well, we used to do, how we used to do it. Well, it was, but okay, let's talk about high impact practices. So I try to stay current nationally and make sure that I'm tilling the soil for myself and growing and continuing to learn. But I think having a long-standing leader, a weakness could be not being able to make that turn. But I can do that.
So you've referenced the legislators a lot, and I think we all know that Tallahassee plays a big role in whether or not we're successful and whether or not we get money and whether or not budget is a struggle and all of those things. I could be wrong, but I haven't seen a ton of involvement on your end with legislators, and I wonder if I am wrong, why, and if I'm not, tell me about that.
I have had a lot of opportunities to speak with legislators in reference to advocating for the college and what the issues are. Most recently, during our Tallahassee visit, I had a chance to meet with Senator Negron's chief of staff to talk about the baccalaureate programs and how we need to advocate for SPC. Please don't make the cap so small that we won't be able to grow our baccalaureate programs. While there, I was also able to answer questions about the misperception of SPC students being full-time and that our students are part-time. Most of my engagement with legislators have been sometimes attending Council of President meetings for Dr. Law or sometimes going up with him to share the SPC story as well as engaging them on the campus to share with them, here are our goals and what we need, and here's how and your role can play in us getting those things. If I'm president, I'd like to have a legislative day where we invite our local legislators to the college and share with them where we are, what our goals are, what our concerns are, and how they can advocate for us up in Tallahassee without waiting for an emergency to pop up and we got to ride up there to answer it. I also think that the next president has to spend a lot more time in Tallahassee, making sure that the reputation of our current president who worked in Tallahassee, knows all the movers and shakers, doesn't fall off with the new president. And so you've got to be there and be present. I think that's important. But if we really get to that idea that I have about convening the entire county and finding out what the county goals are and making sure that when the mayor of Clearwater goes to Tallahassee, they could say, hey, we're working with St. Pete College and this is what we're doing. You need to support this. So when the commissioners go and do things, hey, we're working with SPC on this. Here's how you need to advocate. Here's what we need to do. And so we're going to have to take a different stance and spread the wealth on advocating for this college to serve this community. And I think we're missing that because we're not going to be able to just do that by ourselves. We've got to make sure the community is behind us and with us to go and be the voice in Tallahassee as well.
Dr. Williams, please tell me your thoughts on where the online courses are going and the 2+2 articulation agreements.
Okay. There's a big debate right now regarding growing online because the students are interested in taking online classes. It seems to be an easier feat and an easier way to do it, but not truly understanding the independent nature of the online course. And when you look at the overall success rates of our online students compared to our face-to-face students, there's only like a 2% difference in the success rate between online and face-to-face. But when you disaggregate the data, then you see the 10 to 12% gaps between students of color in online classes and the other students. And so if we're going to offer and ramp up online, it needs to be more interactive, where the student gets to see the faculty members, sort of like WebEx or some of those things where you really can talk to the faculty and get feedback and see the handouts on the board and talk, so that it's really helpful to the student and less independent study-like. And we also need to provide support services for students in online courses. We have done a great job in online readiness. Our students can work a cell phone easily. But when it comes to the online platform, that's a different story. And so we have put together an online readiness tool for students to use to say, are you ready for the online class? And it works very well. But our students are pretty adamant and feel like, I can do it. But what does happen is some of the students come back the first week and ask the advisor, can you switch me to a face-to-face, when they find out the independent nature of it. So am I for online enrollment? I am if the right student is in the right class for the right platform with the right services, absolutely. If we're plotting them in there and they're withdrawn within a couple of days, that does not help us with performance-based funding, because as soon as they register for that class and stay in that class past the FTE date, they're on the books and they count. And so we need to make sure that we're providing the right platform for the right student. But students are taking the online classes. We just want all of our students, including the students of color, to be just as successful. So we're going to have to do some work there. Well, we're going to have to keep growing the 2+2 articulation agreements. I think I talked about working with the HBCU colleges and institutions to make sure that the students that they turn away, we can help and get them through the first 2 years and get them better prepared to go on to those colleges, FAMU, et cetera. We've done a good job with USF in the FUSE program, and I think we need to expand that to our private schools as well as our public institutions. Right now, we're trying to get enrollment, and so we're going to have to be very creative and very nimble to move us forward.
You spoke earlier about improving the faculty. You spoke earlier about improving the faculty experience, which inherently means that there's something wrong with the current faculty experience, or obviously something that can be improved. What specifically do you think, and understanding your transition team goal and talking, but knowing that you have something that you want to improve?
So recently, we all know that our faculty had a union vote. And shy of 40 votes, we are not unionized as a faculty. But it's not over. Just because we're not unionized does not mean there's not a problem. And there is a problem where a third of our faculty feel that they are not heard and that they are asked to buy in to issues and initiatives and not actually help create and be a part of the solution and the development of that. And so I've learned from my listening posts that that is how they feel, a third. I think that is a large enough number that we would say we're not willing to live with that perception of having a third of our faculty believe that their voices are not heard. We have done a great job of embedding faculty on every committee that we have, including our executive committee. I think that the next president is going to have to do due diligence in engaging faculty and pulling those voices forward. So in the executive meeting, each week making sure that you ask the faculty rep who's there, what do you have for us this week? Are there issues we need to work on? Are there solutions that you have to bring forward that we all need to know? Because at the end of the day, whether you are the chief academic officer or not, everything that we do at this college impacts the academic side of the house. And so all of us need to be cognizant of that, and we all need to be held accountable and responsible for engaging both ways. And so I'd like to see the faculty have that voice and also bring that forward.
We touched on it a little bit earlier. I just wanted to dig a little deeper. You wrote that one of the difficulties of a college like ours with so many different campuses is to keep that harmony going and to create a one-student experience. Can you dive into that a bit and tell us what you have in mind, what that looks like in the future?
Good. What we have done over the last 7 years is we put a lot of good systems in place to help the student experience and to make sure if you go to Campus A, you'll have the same experience at Campus B. To finish that and tie a bow around that, we also need to make sure we're one college with faculty and staff working together and collaboratively because we're all trying to serve students. We all have our hand in the pot to make it happen, and that's that one piece of the one college that I'd like to finish. We've done well with processes and procedures, making sure the student experience is good. Now we need to do well in integrating academic and student affairs, making sure that we're all in together. So instead of being like this, we're like this, and how we work collaboratively. That's how we can finish that one college model. We do a lot together, the VPs, and we work very collaboratively. We've got to make sure that that rolls all the way down to front line and that it's working just as well from the front line up.
Of the other presidential candidates, and I've got this manual, and it's got 5 incredible resumes, 5 academics, 5 that have dedicated their lives to student achievement. What sets you apart from the other 4?
Okay.
Why you?
Okay. I believe you would want me as your next president because I understand the community colleges. I understand the national platform of what's happening with the community colleges. I have the energy, the interest, and desire to be a leader. I can graduate myself from the VP to the president role. I know the communities that we are serving. I maintain myself as a learner as well. I'm not always arriving totally. I continue to till the soil and work. I am able to pull us through a lot of the things that we're going through and help close the loop on some of the areas that we're struggling. I won't be starting from scratch, but I believe you would be proud to have a president who's starting with a transition team, who's actually being engaging and opening that door for the voices to be heard and being strategic in how we plan and what we do. My national presence, I think, does make a difference. The ability to work with the American Association of Colleges and Schools and the Community College of Student Engagement, Achieving the Dream, et cetera, helps keep SPC on the national platform. And I think that's very important because as we start looking at our budgets and where we're going to have to start hitting some federal dollars and getting out there to do some unique things and partner on a national level to bring some funds in. So we're going to want to keep that national presence. That presence is not going to work just by me. It's going to work by all of us. So we're going to have to bring people along and include them on the national discussion and the ability to grow and move forward. I think that's the kind of president this college is looking for, someone who's engaging, someone who will celebrate our successes. And I think that I'm uniquely qualified to do that. I know and have worked in just about every role at this institution on every rank. I know what it's like to be a career service staff. I've done the classroom and faculty deal. As a matter of fact, in my national work, I am still teaching. I just work with colleges, VPs, presidents, and we work with them as a system to help them look at how do we improve the student success? How do we work with faculty and what we do? And there is a curriculum that we use, and we do have outcomes, and we do have things that we have to assess and make sure it's working. And so we do have some unique opportunities, and I think that that sets me apart from a lot of the other candidates.
We've been through 4 rounds. We have time for what I'm going to call a speed round.
Okay?
I'm going to start to give you all an example of speed round, and then we'll just go this way, and then we'll finish with Nathan. In 10 words or less, describe your leadership style.
Open, collaborative, fun, silly sometimes, determined. I like to get things done. Listener, thinker, brave,
You did good.
nurturing.
Yeah. Thank you. Well done. Bridget?
All right, I think you just told us all the best parts about yourself, which was part of my next planned question. So I would like to know what the people who work for you would say is the worst things about you
Good.
in 10 words or less. But please don't say I'm a perfectionist, I work too hard, I never take vacation. What really are your challenges? And we all
Well,
have them.
I do work hard, I'll say that. I think that my team will say, once we are on a mission, I'm ready to get it done. And I won't do it myself. I'll just keep asking them, where is it? How do we get it done? We're close to the timeline. Not to be punitive or micromanaging, but we do work as an institution on timelines, and things have to get done. And so I can work through that. But my team will also say, I'll get in and roll my sleeves up and work alongside them and work with them and ask questions to talk through it. And as a college president, you have to ask the questions. You can't be the solution person, but you got to ask the question, how do we do that? Who's going to? When do we do that? What's the best way you'd like to do that? And sometimes that may make my team feel like, okay, she's on us. She's trying to get us moving. But the cadence that we've worked at SPC over the last 7 years has been Speedy Gonzalez. It's been very fast, very quickly. So I think my team will say a negative trait is let's get it done. And they may feel the pressure of that.
Dr. Williams, every day of the week, 365 days of the year, you have to sell St. Petersburg College. And you know, you don't get to choose what you sell.
What?
I want you to sell this college. This is the college, and I want you to sell it to us.
Well, I'm glad it's a fake plant, because I do not do well with real plants. All right. Hello, everyone. I am so glad that you are in the business of looking for this tree of life. I want to tell you about the Titan tree. It's different than any other tree in this state. It is flourished by the best faculty and staff. It is watered by the leadership of the Board of Trustees. Its limbs are thick, its roots are long and sturdy. They spread out throughout the community. And they bear fruit.
I don't want to follow that, but in a spirit of finishing this out, if you're appointed president, what will you look for in your own replacement for your current job?
Definitely someone who is diverse, is a people person, someone who encourages the team, can see both sides of the house, academics and student affairs, someone who is a community leader and a collaborator, because they're working with the whole college. This position requires you to look college-wide, not just at one campus. And so this person has to be visionary, for the entire college and the experience that they'd like their students and staff to have. So that would be the kind of person that I would look for.
Last question. We have a great mission statement with the college here, and I know it's tweaked and worked on all the time.
Right.
Looking forward and hopefully with excitement, if this is the role for you in the future, what would your overall vision be for the college? What do you want people 10 years from now to look back and say, wow, she came on board and she really hit this out of the park and did this well?
I would like to say that the community will see St. Petersburg College as the critical part of building strong families that have great jobs with excellent education and training. That St. Petersburg College changed the scope of this county and took families out of poverty. I would like to see us have done that because we still have a large group of individuals who struggle. You know, I read somewhere, and don't quote me, but it's somewhere about you can tell at the age of 4 if a child is going to be successful by the jobs his or her parents have. And we have a large percentage of children in our county whose parents don't work. And so we need to take that charge up and say, we've got the training for you to get a job. We're going to be here to help lift those families out of poverty and into a high living wage. And so that is what I want to be known for. And that's what I think this college should be known for, because we're here to change lives. That's been our mission. We're the plan.
Thank you very much, and appreciate the audience for being here. I'm going to let you close the interview. Is there anything else that you would like for us to know about you? You get the last word.
I find this to be an honor to sit before you. This is a very important position that I do not take lightly. It is a position that I understand will require a lot of change and movement. But I do want you to know that a wise woman told me that if you move into a position of influence, don't sell your soul to do it. And so I will remain my best self. I will continue to till the soil and make sure that I bring my A game to the table. And I'll do my best for this college, for our faculty and staff, and for the community that we serve. And I thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you all. You're all invited back next Monday here, May 22nd, where we will have our 4th interview. We're adjourned.